the Lian Li Lancool 207. Now, what have Lian Li brought to the table for us today? Well, we're going to find out. Before I do so, I'd like to thank Lian Li to have provided this unit for me to share with you guys, and to Block Soda to have done the arrangement on the delivery. The Lancool 207 in fact is a mid-tower case that comes in two colors, which is black and white. And Lian Li have listened to you guys, whereby having a compact case but yet you can fill up lots of components and having good airflow. I'll talk about the exterior, starting from the side over here where you have tempered glass, and this is tinted black. From where I am, I'm able to see through. You might not be able to see through. At the bottom, this is the mesh whereby it draws air in to the case. At the front, again, front mesh cover where you have two 140mm fans, which is pre-installed. These are ARGB. At the bottom, you have a simple panel just with the logo Lian Li. Over at this section, this is where you see the whole metal panel, and at the bottom, there is mesh again for you to draw air into the case. At the rear, the whole section in fact is full of honeycomb holes where it gives good ventilation to push out all the warm air off from the case. This is the cutout for the rear I/O of your motherboard, and over here you're able to fill up a 120mm fan. There are a total of 7 expansion slots, and at this section it's supposed to be a PSU area, but this case is designed very unique, which I will show you later. Anyway, these are still ventilator holes which is open, which will be proven a very good airflow case. And over here, this is in fact the AC plug where you have an extension cable to the PSU, which is located at the front. As for the measurement of this case, starting from the front, the width of this case is at 219mm. At the top, all the way to the feet is at 456mm. As for the depth, or should I say length, at the front bezel all the way to the back is at 455.6mm. Now, as to remove all the panels, right, this case is toolless. You don't need screwdriver. In fact, you see, there are no thumb screws. To remove all this tinted glass, or should I say tinted tempered glass, take a look at this. There is a notch over here for you to fill your finger in. So while you do that, right, pinch it over here, grab it at the front, pull it out, see? And please do not leave it, alright, you will drop. And you will just take it off. And how you put it back, as you can see over here, there is this notch over here that fills up the bottom where you have two holes. Just slot it in and to pop it in place. It's pretty straightforward. And what's holding the top is by these peaks. See? And as for the front, before I go to the front, the bottom side panel, which is this, the lower section where you have the mesh, is removable too, but you will need to remove the thumb screws. And these two thumb screws are captive, so once it's released, right, you can just pull back and to take it out. See? And these are captive thumb screws. And as again, you have these two notches to place it back, align to the bottom, push it to the front, and fasten the thumb screw. I'll leave it off. As for the front, easy peasy. You don't have to pull and such. It's just by this notch over here, grab it out, and the whole front mesh cover is taken off, and it's well constructed. It does flex a bit, but not that much. And how is this being kept back to the front is by Manex, where you align again. There's two notches to the two holes over here, and you place it back. This is a very neat function whereby I like it so much. It's so easy as and when you want to clean the mesh, right? Where you have dust, right? You can just remove off and clean off. Same goes to the bottom section of the panel where you smash. You can remove off and to clean and to place it back. And easy access for you to clean all the stuff interiorly. Very spacious. Well done. Now, as for the side over here, again, take a look. There's a notch over here. Place your finger in. Support the front. Pull. Same locking mechanism. Now, before I talk about how to mount it back, right, this is not wabi. In fact, what Lian Li have done, right, most of this material they have made use in this case, right, they have make an arch. It's like they fold the metal, so it becomes very sturdy. So when you all place it back, right, just align again with the two notch over here, back to the holes at the bottom. Then you pop it back. And when you pop this back, right, make sure you clip the center part and the top. Reason being, right, you see here, the peaks is at the center and at the top. Same goes to here. See? So make sure you pop. When you align, when you pop, don't just pop at the top. Make sure that you pop at the middle first, then to the top. If you pop to the top, right, and not popping the middle, right, this might just protrude out. So take note on that. And as for the top, right, just push this lever over here up. See, it's taken off. And earlier on, I'm not showing you the top. This is full mesh. And you might be wondering, how does the top looks like? This is how it looks like. Again, this case, Lian Li have listened to all of you, whereby instead of having those slits, right, they make it through hole. See? Having a closer look, this is the top of the case where I mentioned that all these gaps are bigger and wider. Thanks to Lian Li for your innovative way of designing, or should I say redesigning the mounting for the radiator and the fans, inclusive of the front. See, it's true hole. Or should I say bigger hole, as you can see. And also here, bigger hole. If those of you who actually have a Lian Li case, right, you know that all these slits, which is parallel to each other, two row, and there won't be any gaps over here. And the air that passes through, right, is only this big. Okay? Or should I say this big? But what Lian Li have done, right, they cut off this, deliberately cut this off. So leaving less slit when you mount. Okay, let's talk about fans itself. When you mount your fan, right, you will be over here and you have more space, or should I say more gap for all the warm air to pass through the top. Same goes to the front. More intake of air going into your system. And also another factor that I know Lian Li have been observing in their Reddit forum, whereby people talk about noise and such. Same thing. Imagine that this is parallel slit. Okay, no breakage over here. Your exhaust fans are mounted over here. And this slits, right, is just like when you whistle. If your lips are very narrow, when air passes through, right, you will give a sharp pitch or sharp hiss. Else, they have break it. See? Leaving lesser slits for the air, or should I say the fan, to pass through all the slits, which will reduce the noise, which is good. And this also applies to the front. See? No slit lines, no nothing. Actual holes for your 140mm fan and a true hole. Now over at the top, where you see the I/O, or should I say the front I/O is located at the top, where you have the first socket, the Type-C, followed by a combo headphone and microphone jack, a power button, two USB Type-A 3.0 socket. All the mesh cover, panel and such, be the top, the side, the front, they do not come with filters. In fact, this is an airflow case. The only filter that you will find is at the bottom of the case, which is located at the front. and this is for your PSU. So when it's dirty, right, you can just clean it. Once it's done, you can just pot it back. Now, this is something which I appreciate a lot. Reason being, right, most of the time when you want to remove off the filters at the bottom, you have to go to the back to pull it out. But this case is unique because the PSU is right in front, so this filter is right at the front. Very convenient. As you can see, the interior is very spacious, and you will be able to mount ATX motherboard all the way to ITX motherboard, but not eATX. If you have a eATX motherboard, kindly do not use this case, it will not fit. There are a total of 8 cutouts starting from the top. 1, 2, 3. At the side there are 2, and at the bottom there are 2, and a special cutout with a rubber grommet. I'll explain to you why they have this over here. Some of the motherboards, when you mount, in this case, right, it's right angle, so you can use this pass through. But some that is very common, protruding upwards, you can make use of this, where it route your 24-pin cable nicely and to plug to your motherboard. Now, addition to this, right, I like what they have done, a very big cutout over here, so that there might be air or heat, right, dissipating off from the motherboard and not accumulating the heat within the case itself, which is nice thought. Now, for the fan arrangement, right, before I talk about that, this case comes with 4 pre-installed fans, which is at the front there are 240mm fans, and at the bottom there are 220mm fans. And for the top, you will be able to mount 320mm fans or 240mm fans. And for the rear, you can only plug a 120mm fan. For radiator placement, it's only at the top. You can mount 240, 280 or even 360. This is the bottom section of the case, whereby I told you this whole side mesh can be removed by unscrewing the 2 thumb screw at the back, and you just remove it, and you expose the PSU area and the clear area over here, whereby your 2 fans will draw from this area over here. And of course, you have the side mesh from the front and the back of the whole cover, right? There's mesh section 2, so this is how it draws the air. And I mentioned that they have designed in a very unique way of where you house the PSU, which is here. And earlier on I told you that there is this AC socket at the rear, so this is where the extension cable goes, and you will tuck nicely. There's a cutout over here, tuck nicely over here, and you connect to your PSU. And do remember to turn this on when you close this, but it doesn't matter even if you forget to turn it on, right? This is easily removable, so just to power up your system. Having a closer look at the bottom, where you have 2 120mm fans, Lian Li had designed in a way that these fans are recessed to the case itself. You can see it flashes. There are 2 reasons for this. One, making sure that you have enough space, as in like more than enough space I should say, to feeder your cables that's going through these 2 cutouts to be plugged to your motherboard. And 2, confirmation to have a bottom fan if you intend to mount your GPU vertically with the vertical mount bracket. And you can remove these fans if you want to change these fans. It's quite easy. Just remove this screws that is holding the fans, then you can take it out. Now, before showing you how to change the fans, something to talk about these fans. These are standard 120mm fans with 25mm thick, and they are already daisy chain. You can remove this daisy chain if you want, okay, to clean the fans. Once you're done, you can plug it back. So let's off the cable mess. Nice touch on any side. Now, these are 9 bladers. Sorry, these are 11 bladers. It will draw tons of air. And the specs of these fans, rating at minimum 500 RPM all the way to max 1950 RPM. and the voltage drawn is 12 DC, and the amperage drawn is 0.29 ampere. So take note on this. Now I'm saying, right, you can fit your own fan, and if you intend to fit unifans, right, please take note. Make sure that your unifan connection point is this way, flat. In fact, most of the V2 are all flat, except for the older SL, AL, and the PL fans, where you have this thing protruding out, right? That you have to be more careful, because it might not fit in. Or probably for TL fans, right, you can. Having the thing protruding out, okay, there's something that's stuck out. Instead of having a fat cable, you can mount the rear and to join to your bottom fans. It's possible too. Now, back to where I was. This is the AL V2 120mm fans, where I daisy chain them together, where one end is actually connected to the cable and such. Now, on the other end, make sure you take out the studs that interconnect. Okay, what I'm trying to say is this studs over here. Make sure at this end you remove it. If not, you will not be able to fit in the fan to the allocated fan cage. Now, for that, how you go by fitting the unifans, right? First, tuck in your cables. Okay, make sure that the connection point, or should I say the cables, right, is off from this side to the front. Push the cable down. Okay, tilt it. Then from the bottom, right, try to pull the cable. Once it's in place, right, you can just glide in. See? It's done. And when you do this, right, to hold this fan, just screw this fan screws that was originally screwing the original fans to it, and it's done. Having a look at the front fan, yes, it's removable, we can replace them. Now, there is some tricks to it, how you remove the front fans. At the bottom, as you can see, I've already removed. It's being daisy chain. You can just take it off, not an issue. But for the top fan, please be very mindful. You will need to remove off the front bezel. Okay? It's just by a few clicks. Then, please be very, very careful, as there are cables to the front panel. See? All these cables. And why am I showing you this is because this cable over here, which is the top fan, is routed in, which is this hole over here. So with this front cover cramped to it, right, you can't take out the connection point. So you have to remove this. Okay, make sure it's cautiously removed, because you might snap the cables over here, the front panel cables. So just be mindful when you remove this. You can just leave it aside and to slowly remove this top fan cables, which is the 3-pin 5-volt ARGB and the 4-pin PWM fan connector, which is attached to the top fan. So once you have done this, right, you will then, okay, right now it's in fact it's being removed. Let me just pop this back. Okay, of course I'm not asking you to pop back. It's just that for simplicity, just to show you, then you'll be able to remove the front fans. And again, this front fans, right, are held by these screws. And take note that this screw is slightly longer as compared to the bottom fans. So do not make use of the bottom fan screws, right, to replace over here. It will not work. You have to use back the original fans that's mounting on the front fans. Now, before showing you the replacement, just to talk about these fans, as you can see here, is in infinity mirror. In fact, these fans draw tons of air. I wouldn't advise you to change the fans unless you are, into aesthetic, then go ahead. Anyway, as mentioned, with very nice finish, the infinity fabric, the infinity mirror is over here, and this is of a total 9-blader, correct? And it's rated 12 volt DC and a drawing amperage of 0.4 ampere, and have a RPM of 450 to a max 1900 RPM, and the LED, which is 5 volt, drawing at 0.7 ampere. As to replace the fans, these are the 140 mm ALV2 fans. When you do the daisy chain, as usual, connect the plug, and again make sure that the plug is flat. Alright, and also to take out the two studs at the end, which is actually this. See, this is removable. Make sure you remove this, if not you can't fit the fan in. And before you place the fan to the area, okay, you have to tuck this cable through this slot over here. Then once you have done this, right, assuming that you have pulled this all the way, okay, then you can place the fan in. So you got to do some minor alignment. Just be mindful of this cable over here, make sure that it doesn't snap, and this is in. Okay, let me just plug this back in. Okay, it takes some time to feather this. Anyway, I'm just saying that if everything goes well, right, you'll be able to tuck this in. Then to hold on the fans, just screw back the screws. Some of you might ask, am I able to mount a Lian Li Hydro Shift LCD 360? Yes, you can. As you can see, I've mounted it with no issue. Like, you can even mount this. See? Now, reason being, right, based on the fact that this is a 360, though the 360 width, which is this, is longer, or should I say wider, as compared to the ordinary 360 Radiator, right? Based on the fact that this AIO has a bracket at the side, so you might worry that will it hit your motherboard? Answer is no. There are plenty of space. Reason being, the motherboard is being recessed in. As I mentioned about it earlier, see, it's recessed in. And mind you, I'm using the ASUS Z790 Maximus Hero, which has a very tall heatsink at the side and at the rear, and yet I can fit this Hydro Pro LCD, no problem. But if you are thinking of mounting a Liquid Freezer 2 or Liquid Freezer 3 280, okay, not 360, which has a width of 140mm, right, then you will not be able to fit in. This will, this side will definitely hit the VRM heatsink over here in the rear. I've tried, not able to fit in. Now, having said this, right, don't give up hope. If you are to use a Liquid Freezer 2 or 3, 360, right, this is 280. 360 will be narrower. So with a narrow width, right, it's just like the Hydro Shift LCD. You can fit it with ease, no problem. Now, speaking about the height itself, right, if you intend to put air cooler, make sure your air cooler does not exceed 175mm, because from here, right, all the way to the side panel is measuring at 180. So anything is beyond 175 for your air cooler, you can't fit. You can fit, but you can't close the side panel. So take note on this. For graphic card placement, let me show you the length, starting from the front where it touches the fan, all the way to the PCIe slot. This is at 405mm. I would advise that your graphic card, right, set to a limit of 375mm, which is on spec of this case. Do not exceed more than 375mm. And before I show you the placement of the graphic card, if you notice, there's this anti-set bracket over here. There's a thumb screw at the top where you have to unscrew it from the back. Then you'll be able to swivel up or down. And there's a cushion over here, or sponge, that will support your graphic card and you will not sag. And you notice, right, there are 3 slots over here. Please take note on the measurements at the top. This is meant for the graphic card length of each slot allocated. Now, what I have with me is a 4080 Super from ASUS. This is the ASUS TUF. I am able to place it in because this length over here, right, does not exceed 375. See, as you can see here, I can place it in. No problem. And make sure that the graphic card height, which is from the bottom to the top, make sure it does not exceed 163. If not, you're gonna have problem mounting the high power connector, which is the 12 volt high power. This is the other side of the case where you see the cable management area. Is pretty straightforward and simple. You'll be given with 3 very huge Velcro stripe area where it's kind of unique. See? So you just fold. So the internal slot is meant for you to place those thick cables. Then when you secure in place, over here, right, you can put thin cables and to lock in place. This is the bottom section of the case, whereby the front is meant for you to mount your PSU, and at the rear there are 2 caddy where you can mount your hard disk or SSD. I'll start off with the PSU. As you witness that I place a PSU at the front, but do be mindful that make sure that the width of your PSU is not more than 160 mm. If you go above 160, right, you will not be able to fit in this case. And how the placement is like, where you have the modular socket facing this end and this facing to the other end, and you just slot it in. And when you slot it in, right, please be mindful of these cables over here and the cables that's underneath it. Then you'll be able to slot in. Now, coming to the hard disk area, at the bottom you have 2 caddy where you can unscrew them and to remove from the bottom. There will be studs provided where you can mount either a 2.5 inch SSD or a 3.5 inch hard disk. So total you'll be able to mount 2 3.5 inch hard disks or 2 2.5 inch SSD. And to mount it back, on the other end, right, there are 2 holes over there. Just catch with this 2. So once you have catch it, push it down and to secure with the thumb screw. These are the front I/O connectors where you need to plug this to your motherboard. Starting off with the HD audio. This is to be connected to your motherboard, which allows you to plug your headphone and microphone jack to be functional. Then followed by the Type-C. This is the Type-C. Again, plug to your motherboard. Then for the 2 USB Type-A is this, again to your motherboard. And as for the power button is this, where it says front panel. And for the fans, it doesn't come with a hub, so for the ARGB and the fan PWM, you will need to plug directly to your motherboard. This is the front fan, the front fan connectors, where you connect this 4-pin PWM fan header right to your motherboard, and same thing goes to the 3-pin 5V ARGB to the motherboard. And to control the ARGB, you will need to use your motherboard ARGB utility. These are the accessories that comes in the package, and it's filled in this box. You will first be provided with a thank you purchase card, not forgetting the instruction manual. on how you're going to install stuff and what are the modularity of this case and the quantity of things that you will need. Things like your motherboard screws, your PSU screws and such. I'll just briefly go through. On my left, these are the extra clips for your case. In case your case clip broke, you can replace it with this. A bag of fan screws, 4 zip ties. These are meant for your 3.5-inch hard disk that goes along with this rubber grommets. Another bag of screws that contains all the motherboard screws, the hard disk screws and such. A bag of radiator screws. Additional Velcro stripe, 2 of them. And a sponge. This is meant if you want to mount your GPU vertically and you have this paste at the front so that the card will sit on this sponge. Speaking of which, they do have a vertical mounting bracket which is shown here, and this is optional. You will need to purchase it. How does this case fare? Well, I'm not going to let you see the whole benchmark run, just to let you know the estimation on the thermals and such. I've been using this 14700K, which is a Intel processor, and to run in this case, because I know that it's going to generate very hot, which I did limit the power limit to 238 just for information, and having an offset of minus 0.1 volt. And the fans are rather loud, as in like the front fan and the bottom fans, so I got to tune it down. So I had it max at 1600 or to 1900, which you can see over here, right? On the stats, the CPU temperature is hovering very well, and this is the AIO pump and such, the radiator fan, and not top fan, in fact it's the front fan, then the bottom fans and the rear fans. So with this stats, right, having such airflow in the case is hovering very well. If I were to pump up all this to the max, right, I believe I will yield better results. And looking at the overall, like the motherboard temperature, my RAMs and such, they are doing fine. Never hit above 50 degrees Celsius. And I'm testing this in a 30-degree room temperature. Okay, just for information. And as you can see, right, the last 2 minutes, so estimation is around 86 to 87 on the CPU side. And for the GPU itself, while I'm running full mark, it doesn't hit 65, which is good. I only have one sentence for this case, which is sleek, functional, and very simple. Why do I say this? In fact, all these are pre-installed, like the fans and the bottom, and all the cables are being managed nicely for you. So basically what you need to do is just to plug and play. It's like plugging your motherboard, your graphic card, the top area. You don't really need much of a cable management, inclusive of the rear fans. And best part is how they invented, as in like, innovate space to this chassis, which this is not very big. This is in fact a very small case. And things like they have done, right, like indenting the, or should I say, recessing the fans to flush so that you have more room to feather with your cables and to plug your cables without having to reach out at the corner. And also to the fact that easy maintenance. Why do I say this? Yes, the mesh filter does not have filter, but it doesn't matter. If you do regular cleaning, right, it's very simple. If you want to clean the bottom, you just remove this. See, it's out. And this is open area. You can just clean your dust off or blow off your dust off here. If you want to remove this fans, right, even better. It's so easy. Just remove the screw and take it out. You can clean the fan and place it back. It doesn't hinder anything at all. And also to the fact that the front, see, it's so easy to take out the front cover. Not like in the past I have to actually grab from the bottom and to take out the whole bezel and such. And best part is that all this mesh, right, they have deliberately do the fold so that it becomes very sturdy. It doesn't really flex that much. Same goes to the front panel. So once you have cleaned this and everything, right, you can just place it back. Easy peasy. And also the fact that in the past, it's either I have to grab from the side for the filter to clean off or from the back. And for the back, right, it's so, I mean, inconvenient. Else they have they have designed the PSU at the front, whereby all I need to do is just to remove this, I mean, dust filter, and to clean it and to pop it back in place. So these are the things that they really have think into it. And the as I mentioned to you, the slot holes at the top and the front is through hole. You will have lesser noise, more air going in, or more warm air going out, which you have witnessed that I've tested my 14700K is hovering around 86 degrees Celsius, which is fantastic. It's like, you know, testing on in a room that is consistent 30 degrees Celsius is like, my goodness, I can hit 88 degrees Celsius with no, with no air conditioner and such. But this case, right, able to sustain it at 86 degrees Celsius. I am very impressed. Now, the only thing that I need to talk about, in fact, is the PSU itself. When it's at load and it's taking a lot of load, right, you got to be very mindful that the air, cool air, is sucking in from the bottom and it dissipates out from here. So imagine you're sitting down here, right, quite near to the case itself, right, the warm air is actually blowing towards you. So this is something which probably is not really a flaw, but you know, it's a minor hit and miss kind of thing. But overall, I would say that this case is pretty good, and it's kind of budget. I believe it's lesser than 100 USD. I've actually gone through the MSRP, but I can't remember the price. It's around 74.90 for the black and around 82 for the white. But still a very good, well constructed, well thought of the case, which is budget. I hope everyone did enjoy what I've shared with you, and I'd like to thank Lian Li to have provided this case for me to share with you guys, and also to Block Soda to have done the arrangement on the delivery. If you are new to my channel, welcome to my channel. If you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.